Good morning, Sports Insanity Network fans. It's Sick Mark Old Up Sky Halpern here today on the Six Man Up, along with my PIC, Danny, Vice President Danny Boy Reginald. Good morning, Dan. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, buddy. Um, we all got I got a throat issue. I had a really bad acid reflux episode.
Oh,
So, um, we're all suffering out here.
yeah, I mean, if you don't know what's going on in America, the super flu has swept the United States.
All
So,
of a sudden, right? All of a sudden
yeah,
we had another flu issue.
yep. So, thank you to all the little kitties who gave it to my kitties who gave it back to me. So, but let's talk while we're really here. We're here to talk about the New York Knicks, and they're not in a much happier situation than what we are right now. The Knicks have lost four straight games, and it's the worst losing streak of the Knicks this season. I've lost four consecutive losses to the Spurs, the Hawks, the Sixers, and the Pistons. But they did start where we left off. They did start off with a win against the Pelicans, which we expected. But I this game ended up being way too close. I thought it was going to be a much bigger spread. Dan,
Yeah.
very surprised at the way the defense was playing in this game was just not great. Game highs, as usual, Brunson 23, OG with 23, and then off the bench, Miles McBride with 14. Everyone did contribute in this win. And then obvious game highs from Zion Williams and Sadiq Bey. Um, the Pelican game, Dan, was just basically an all-out team effort win. That should have been it should have been a 10 to 15 point win, not a five.
Yeah.
Um, it was kind of, any win is always good, especially when you're in the division that we're in with all the very good teams that are there. Every win counts, you want that breather come towards the end of the season and then into the playoffs. But the Knicks have started to do something that they really haven't done, and that's lose. And we were just talking about it. The Knicks have lost four straight, and the first loss came against the San Antonio Spurs. And this was a hard, hard loss, Dan.
Mhm.
Um, Knicks led for a significant part of the game,
Yeah.
and then it all started crumbling down. Um, what is your take on what happened here?
I think it was just a lot of, you know, a lot of the Knicks, being a little too comfy. And then the Spurs just taking advantage. Look, the Spurs it was really in the third quarter when they had that 16-2 run. Knicks couldn't really get a stop. And then of course the Knicks, they couldn't score for the life of anybody. And um like that was like really when uh things sort of turned. Obviously, Wembanyama was hurt, but he came back, and of course, he helped the Spurs win. A lot of it was just, Knicks being stagnant, and you know, what was once a double-digit lead, a massive double-digit lead, turned into a deficit real quick, and Knicks couldn't find an answer, and it was tough to see. It was really tough to see. Spurs up and down, 30-point finishes, and it was rough. Close
Uh,
loss. I'm glad that they kept it as close as they did. Um, but that big time Spurs rally between the third and fourth quarters really cemented that victory for San Antonio.
Great. Game highs from the usual suspects, Brunson and Cat, 29 and 20 respectively. And then Jordan Clarkson and Miles McBride off the bench both also hit 20 and
Mhm.
21. So, it's not for a lack of effort this game because there
Yeah,
was scoring. It was just like Dan pointed out. I think he hit it right on the head. That 16-2 run was a killer,
yeah,
and then the second half just didn't go as good.
yeah. And usually, um, you know, we get better play from Anunoby. He only had 9. We get better play from Mikal Bridges. He got 13. Like, and they played a big chunk of minutes. Like you're talking about the starting lineup where 4 players had at least 33 minutes, excuse me, on the floor. And for Anunoby, while still doing fairly well on the defensive side, only scoring 9 points, knowing that we know he can give us a lot more than 9 points. It was tough. It was pretty tough to watch. And then, of course, and I keep saying it, the lack of Josh Hart not being in the lineup. And he hasn't been in the lineup in a while. Not having Josh Hart in the lineup really sucks. We could really use his energy to come
Yeah.
to come out. Like ever since when he was inserted into that starting lineup, um, right around November-ish and stuff, the Knicks were instantly better starting and finishing games, and you trusted him. And then it's no disrespect to a Mohamed Diawara who's given us some good minutes. Like I'm very impressed by this Diawara kid. I really am.
Yeah.
Um, like it's no disrespect to him or anybody, but we could really use Josh Hart right now, and he's been sidelined. So that was tough.
Right. There is no current update on when he will return. We hope it's sooner than later because Dan made it very clear. When Josh Hart is in, whether it's off the bench or in the starting lineup, this team is better. He is the ability of two guys on the floor. He's aggressive, going up for rebounds. He's always, he's getting 7 a game. Don't really rely on him for a ton of points, but he can score. If you get
Well,
15 points out of him, that's amazing.
well, he can do so much. He can play defense. He can score. You mentioned the rebounding. He's all over the floor.
Yeah.
It's
There's
really it's rough. It's rare to have guys like him be all over the floor and
right.
really give you everything you need. Tough one.
So the Knicks will be waiting to get Josh Hart back. As we said, hopefully sooner than later. On to the Atlanta Hawks game. This one is one that I had a hard time swallowing, losing 111 to 99. The Knicks have already beaten the Hawks. They know what they are, and this was just a collapse, in my opinion. Game highs by the usual Brunson with 24, OG with 19, Mikal Bridges started with 18, and Miles McBride also started this game and ended up with 11. The rebounding came from two guys, really. It came from OG and Ariel Hukaporti, you know, put up 16 rebounds for Hukaporti, which is absolutely great. Mitch Robinson got the quote unquote uh, back and whatnot, so he got a little bit of rest in minutes,
Yeah.
and Ariel got the chance. So the Knicks have the players, but there was no anything. The bench was dead. The bench wasn't really putting up any points. I mean, the highest on from the bench is the one guy's name I can barely pronounce these days, Gershon Yababustiele. Am I close?
Gershon Yabusele.
Thank you. Dan was much better. Yeah, gave 15 minutes and 8 points. When your bench has no production like we've enjoyed to watch it over the last, months now,
Yeah.
you can't then rely on these numbers because you look at OG for 35 minutes, Mikal Bridges 35 minutes, Jalen Brunson
Yeah.
35 minutes, and McBride 31. They also were without Karl Anthony Towns in this game as well.
Yeah.
So this loss, Dan, was hard for me to swallow. What was your take on it?
I mean, the Knicks were quick. They led 11-2, and then the Hawks, I think, scored like the final like 3, 4 points in the quarter to cut the lead to like one or whatever. Or they took a lead or whatever it was. They took the lead and they didn't surrender the lead again. That was the hard part. The fact that the Hawks took the lead and then never surrendered the lead again. So
Um,
tough one for the Knicks. Like I said, point production wasn't there. Of course, Cat was sick, so we couldn't get his production. Yeah, it didn't that loss didn't really piss me off as much as these other losses have. Um, but I mean, look, at this point, we're only talking about a 2 game losing streak, and we're like, okay, look, people are hurt. We don't know the status of when their people are going to come back and everything. They don't have they're not fully healthy. Uh, so that was my take, but still, like, I still expect a lot out of a Jalen Brunson and OG Anunoby, all those players to come through. And I'm also pretty shocked, Mikal not really um giving us the big time minute because when we don't have Cat, we expect Mikal, again, I'm not asking him for like 30 points a night, but if he can be like 22, like
mhm.
that's helpful. You can't do that. Um, so yeah, and I know Mikel's not necessarily the biggest scorer out there. Don't let that one season in Brooklyn fool you. You know,
Mhm.
but still, like we expect him to put up some points to help us out to pick up the slack, and he hasn't really done that yet. And I look to him, I look to Anunoby. Both of them really haven't done so in this stretch. Tough.
So the Knicks had to swallow that loss and on to a next game of the Philadelphia 76ers, which the Knicks have beaten the Sixers this season.
Mhm.
The Knicks, coming in with a 2 game loss streak, had all the incentive to want to go out there and win against, and I say this lightly, with to an inferior team, because the Philadelphia 76ers are not really as good as the New York Knicks, but the Knicks take their third loss in a row,
Mhm.
losing 130 to 119 to the 76ers. Game highs, I'm sorry, apologize. Game high from Jalen Brunson, 31, and we had Cat back. He had 23 and 14 rebounds. Um, and then, OG was showed up. Mitch Robinson helped on the rebounds and stuff like that. You're not really looking for Mitch to score much. Mikal Bridges had a solid game all the way through. And Miles McBride had 20 off the bench. But again, Dan, this was another game where the Knicks bench did not, with all the time they got, did not contribute points.
Yeah.
And when you have stars like
Mhm.
Tyrese Maxey, Paul George,
Yeah.
and it go on, and Joel Embiid, you need everybody to play against this team.
Mhm. Yeah, this is another game where the Knicks never led. I think they tried to make a comeback in the fourth quarter. Obviously didn't really materialize too much. You nailed it. Like it seems like every game that we're analyzing, the bench production keeps going down and down and down. And the minutes for the starters keep going up and up and up. You know, I'm starting to see Tibbs level of minutes from the starters, which um that's not what was working before. And I get that there are key players that we don't have, but you know that's the thing that was like that's starting to concern me is that we're not utilizing the bench as much. We still have Clarkson in there. Tyler Kolek hasn't left. McBride's playing a lot. It was good to see him on the floor for 30 minutes, contributing to 20 points. Um, but all of a sudden now we're starting to see people disappear a little bit. And it's just like, why? Why are we putting so much on the starters again? Not saying that they can't go out there and give us 40 minutes. And I know like if they have to, fine. But you know, not enough of the spread. They're still going deep into the bench, but it's not much. It's
Yeah.
not much. So yeah, little disappointed in that. Um, how about Tyrese Maxey, man?
Yeah.
He,
He's
he,
such a good ball player.
he's unbelievable, man.
But I also,
36 points
yeah,
that killed us. Um, I saw Edgecombe at 26, Paul George at
Edgecombe also
15.
played the whole game.
Yeah.
Edgecombe played 41 minutes. You don't see that anymore. So a little shout out to
Mhm.
Edgecombe there. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And then of course you had contributing with 10 our buddy Quinn Grimes.
Yeah. You look, I have all the respect in the world for Quentin. I just don't like seeing him shoot and score against us.
Yeah, it's all
It's
good. It's what it is.
right. Um, but now we're talking three losses in a row, and
Yeah.
it's it's starting to show up in the media. It's starting to show up.
Yeah,
Let,
it's
let's
it
just,
it stands out, definitely.
yep. If the Knicks were not as high profile, nobody would probably care that they have a four-game losing streak. But when you have a team that is built for the NBA championship right now, four wins stick out, and you don't want bad press. The Knicks
Mhm.
went on next to play the Detroit Pistons, and the Detroit Pistons. I was hoping for a good for a win here. I was preparing for a win here, but the Knicks dropped this one 121 to 90. And again, to Dan's point, the Knicks never led at any point in this game.
Yeah.
By the end of each quarter, they were always down. Game highs by Brunson, and I'm just going to say this: Brunson with 25. There were only two other players on the Knicks team, and I'm talking the entire team, including the bench, that had double figures with Mikal Bridges with 10 and Miles McBride with 17. This
Yeah.
is unacceptable on every level. I would understand it if it was everybody was sick, there was no starters, everybody was playing on IVs and running around with IVs on the floor. But come on, Jordan did it. He played with the flu.
Mhm.
He did it. Was an unacceptable loss, Ted.
Yeah, I was mad about this one the most because the Pistons, they're a rising star in the league, and they haven't forgotten that playoff loss. So, like, let's be honest, like it's been in their minds all summer long when they're trying to beef up their team offensively, defensively, and everything. It was not it was a joke watching that team last night. Cunningham is going off on us for 29.
And
And
13 assists.
like let's be honest, like that they're scoring that everyone was contributing. The bench was contributing, um, defense was contributing, everyone's chipping away with single digit points. But if you think about it, the fact that everyone was scoring, and the Knicks had no response to any of them, massive for the Pistons, and it led to a 30-point rout. Um, and it was from Jump Street. The Knicks had no answer. I guess that first quarter was something, but let's be honest, like it was nothing. And by the third quarter, they were dead. They
Yep.
had no energy, no defense. Um, Embarrassing to watch. And like I said, probably needed this streak. And again, we don't have everybody. So I'm hoping that once we get people back, that you know the Knicks can get right and everything. But it's we're in a tough stretch right now. I know Jalen Brunson is pulling everything, but again, we're talking about the other people. OG Anunoby, where the hell is he? You know, like again,
Pat,
we're not expecting him to go off for 40 every night, but can you give us, you know, 20? Can you give us 15? Can Mikal Bridges, give us more than 10? OJ Anunoby had 5 points. Karl-Anthony Towns had 6 points. Like,
hmm
these are things that are very concerning to watch.
and also only one rebound from Cat out of this game.
Yeah, exactly. Even like Kolek, Kolek, he's talking up a big thing. Yeah, man, what's up? What's up? And then he has been a non-factor, partially,
Yep.
yes, because of Mike Brown, but not contributing anything when he's in there.
Um, One thing I want to point out also about this, and I don't know if you've noticed it, Jalen Brunson's assists
Mm.
have plummeted.
Well,
He
because
was
he has
averaging
to,
cause to five.
yeah.
He was
Well, because
averaging close to five.
he has to pick up the slack. Like he's
Yeah.
the one doing most of the scoring.
And that's what it was last year. And look, it's always great to have a player who can get you an average of 25 to 35 points a night. You of course you want a player like that. But Brunson is a game controller. He's the one who should be setting it up. Yes, take your shots.
Yeah.
But it's the assists from him that are going away that the Knicks need. They need him setting up for Cat under for these small little shots. I don't understand why Karl-Anthony Towns is shooting 10 feet away every time. Use that big ass of yours, back yourself down, and get these small 2-point shots. The
Mhm.
Knicks are also not taking as many threes,
Yeah.
which is good, but their percentage from when taking them is poor.
Yeah.
They're,
I think they're also relying too much on the mid-range, long-range shots. One thing that stood out to me as well was that Detroit had an edge in points of the paint, 36 to 22.
and that's ridiculous. Especially when you have players like Mitchell Robinson and Carl
Yeah,
Anthony Towns
like
on the
take a
floor.
chance. You know, I don't know, like it was very disappointing to see that performance. A complete no-show. A complete no-show across the board. And I'm a little concerned about this Knicks team. Very concerned about the defensive effort, no scoring production, the lack of Josh Hart, not going deep into their bench, even though they're not playing much, so there's no contribution there. Just everything's kind of out of whack, and Mike Brown, who has done a sensational job all season overall, um, he has to find a way to get this team together, man, because
Yeah.
it not saying it's gonna get worse. I'm sure the better days are ahead, but um, something's gotta happen to give this Knicks team some their confidence and their mojo back.
The Knicks are off today. They will play the LA Clippers tomorrow, and hopefully this day off gives them time to have a little bit of a team meeting. With this 4 game loss streak, they are now second in the Atlantic, right behind Boston by a half a game. And Boston's been on a 4 game win streak during this, and
Mhm.
that didn't help the
Yeah,
Knicks with the standings.
they passed the Knicks um in the standings. So now the Knicks, who were second in the East, are now third, and right on their tails, a game and a half out, is the Raptors. So
And
not
and the Knicks need to step up. You got to really start stepping it up.
yeah.
News around from the NBA, and there's not much, but this one's stuck out to me. Out of Atlanta, Trey Young and the Atlanta Hawks are working together on a trade. but with no mention of who, what, where, why, or when. It is there is no doubt that uh Young is upset in Atlanta. You could tell by that last Knicks game that they played when
Yeah.
Young just looked flat.
He did nothing.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything.
The
Um,
question is, where is he gonna go? Who's gonna pick him up? He had, oh God, wow. He has a total of 95 million on his deal left with a player option, and it's a lot of money. So the question becomes who would be in line? Who would you think would be able to not only absorb the contract, but has the equity to send back?
I mean, it's tough. It's tough out there. I don't right now. There's not really a big suitor out there. Um, I mean, if you're talking about a young team that's talented and on the come up, even though they're not, their record doesn't necessarily show it. Washington Wizards are out there. They got some young studs out there that
Okay.
they could use a Trae Young. Now, of course, Trae Young has also been hurt this year, so that has limited his play a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, and I think having that young core to work with, because he's been in the league for quite some time now. So I think having that young core out there will, you know, inspire him, reignite his passion for the game. Just an idea, I guess.
I mean, I remember when Trey Young, we remember when Trey Young entered
Mm,
this league and took it by storm with
uh,
the long range jump shots and the great passing,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know. So
He's been
hopefully
sensational.
he,
He's been
yeah.
sensational.
I don't want to see a player like him, fizzle into the past, disappear, so to speak. There's been a lot of ejections this year, Dan. And obviously Draymond Green has been the focus of all of them. As Draymond's been ejected by almost what about a quarter of the season he's been ejected now. But last night, KD gets thrown out, and it's not something you see a lot because KD normally can handle he's cool on the court. But are the refs now starting to call fouls a little bit more strongly than what they were doing in the past? Uh, I don't know what the word is, but you don't see Kevin Durant really get ejected from a game.
Just probably just a bad moment. No, the refs are the refs. They're either going to get better or get worse. They've been getting worse with these foul calls, so it's not that surprising. And um, no, I don't think the refs are doing it just to do it. I just think that they're over analyzing the game and making
Uh,
it about them. That's always been my big problem. My big problem is that these referees, it's never about letting the players play. It's always about what they can do to um to insert themselves and make their impact because that's all they want to do is make an impact. Uh, it was kind of funny seeing Kevin Durant get casted. But hey, look, but you know what? I think for Kevin Durant, you know, he had that game winner against the Suns.
yeah.
And that was massive. That was huge that was huge for him. So good for him to step back in there, I guess.
So as we said, the Knicks are off tonight. They will play tomorrow night against the LA Clippers, and that is going to do it for this episode of the Sixth Man up here on the Sports Insanity Network. Dan, where can these lovely people who are going to be watching this record all over the place find us?
This episode is live, or you can rewatch it. YouTube at the Sports Sandy Network, and then of course this audio version on the Sports Sandy podcast feed, wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah.
Subscribe to our YouTube, follow our pod, follow our socials. We're always there, and we appreciate you.
Yep. Definitely check out our X account, S Insanity Real, as a lot of our articles from our main website are being posted there, and we've gotten some nice comments. So
Mhm.
please come on, be one of those comments.
Yep.
Come on in, say hi during an episode. We'd love to hear from you. For again, I'm Mark Goldupsky Alpern, along with Vice President Danny Boy Reginald, saying stay safe. We'll catch you on the flip side, and watch out for this superbug that's gonna get us all eventually.
Yep. And please, if you're really sick out there, folks, urgent care. It's cheaper.
Yes.
Just advice for adults out there. And yeah, please be safe and